Ladies and gentlemen, Roger Ver has been arrested, otherwise known as Bitcoin Jesus. They are charging him with tax fraud. This is incredible. Listen, if you've outright intentionally tried not to pay your taxes in the U.S. and you've broken laws, I guess, according to the law of the land, then you've committed a crime. Now, obviously, I'm biased. I have a real problem with the amount of taxes that are required in the U.S., how those taxes are paid, and most importantly, how that tax money is actually used and what it's used for, and who's getting rich off the tax code, etc. That's a whole nother video for another time. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is very interesting to me, and I'll explain why. First and foremost, let's talk about who Roger Ver is. He is known as Bitcoin Jesus. I should have pulled up his Wikipedia right here. But the reason he's known as Bitcoin Jesus, this is a much older video, a picture of him. But the reason he was known as Bitcoin Jesus is because this man will absolutely go down in history as being one of the primary individuals to help encourage mass adoption of cryptocurrency. The stories I've heard, because he was in crypto long before me, I didn't really get into crypto until I think I made my first purchase in 2016. I was following it in 2015. Well, I first followed it all the way back when Bitcoin was trading at around, I think, $300 per Bitcoin. And yeah, I wish I'd have bought a boatload back then. But this guy was in when Bitcoin was like under 50 cents, I believe, or right around 50 cents. And he used, he ran some sort of a computer company, and he essentially used his company to be able to mine Bitcoin, and then he bought some Bitcoin, and then he used to give away Bitcoin at conferences and meetup groups. He ended up moving to Japan, and when he moved to Japan, he would have these meetup groups, and he was known for just giving away Bitcoin. Again, it was valued, I think, at around 50 cents or something like that back then, but he would just give it away all the time. Keep in mind, this was an era when there was not a lot of centralized exchanges really of any kind. It was very, very difficult for the average person to buy Bitcoin. There wasn't a lot of Bitcoin wallets. You can go on the internet and look up how to create a paper Bitcoin wallet. That's the very first wallet that I personally ever attempted to try to create for myself. And that's what they were using back then. And so this is early days in crypto. And he was just trying to get people to use Bitcoin, essentially. Well, long story short, in fact, let's come over here and take a look at, well, let me cover some of the controversies of Roger Ver, because I have been critical of Roger Ver before. There's a very, very popular video clip out there where he lost his marbles on a podcast, or a live stream, I should say, kind of with a bit of a debate with somebody. And he just came unhinged, looked psychologically unwell at the time. I mean, truly, he came unhinged and just lost his complete cool. And then he like flipped the guy off, and I think he left the stream or something. I can't remember all the details. But he also is the creator of what's known as Bitcoin Cash. This is the actual U.S. Department of Justice website. But he was the creator of Bitcoin Cash. Now, fun fact, Bitcoin Cash, there was this big debate over the block size of Bitcoin, and I forget all the specifics, but the idea was, do you expand the block size or you keep it small? And technically, I can't even tell you what was what without looking it up. But at the end of the day, they decided to fork Bitcoin. Now, the reason this was very interesting, I want to say Bitcoin was trading, I'd have to go look it up, 13,000, 30,000. Anyway, Bitcoin was trading well into the four figures, maybe the five figures at the time. And when it traded, I don't think it was 30,000. But anyway, when it was trading that high, there was this big thing, like they were going to fork Bitcoin, where essentially everybody who owned one Bitcoin, if you had one Bitcoin or whatever, 0.1 Bitcoin, every Bitcoin would be forked, and now you would own in your wallet, as long as you had it in your private wallet, you would own the Bitcoin, and you would own the equivalent Bitcoin Cash 1-to-1 for every Bitcoin or every fraction of a Bitcoin. So at the time, this was the first major fork like that. And a lot of people were wondering, is this going to kill the value of Bitcoin? What's going to actually happen? Now, this happened when I was really new into crypto at the time. I mean, I think I might have been in a few months. And I remember discussing this with my wife, because essentially the supply was going to double. And it was like, what's going to actually happen? How does that actually work? And for those of you that are old enough to remember, like Y2K, when the year 2000 happened, people didn't know what was going to happen with the computer systems when we flipped over to the year 2000. And everybody, all these companies are spending money trying to prepare their computer systems for what was going to happen. Was computers going to think it was 1900, or they're going to recognize that it was the year 2000. What was going to happen? Was all the computer systems going to collapse? That was a real concern at the time, as silly as it sounds right now. Well, similarly, people wondered, was Bitcoin going to just totally crash? What was going to happen when there's basically, quote unquote, double the Bitcoin? Because the only difference in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is the block size. That's it. The crazy thing is, just so you know how that played out, overnight, we ended up with significant amounts of crypto in our wallets. I want to say when I first looked at it, I want to say it was sitting at around $1,200, or maybe it was even higher. But somewhere over here, it was like, what in the world happened? All of a sudden, you're sitting on a significant amount of value that's just bonus money. It's one of the first times that I realized in crypto, when there's crypto airdrops and there's crypto forks, that how incredible it could be when it was like literal money, real value was given or almost created, so to speak, out of thin air. Now, of course, you can see Bitcoin Cash is down to $418. It's really been, it's not been performing well at all. So neither here nor there, Roger Ver has owned a lot of Bitcoin and still owns a lot of quote unquote original or Bitcoin as in what's currently number one on CoinMarketCap. And let me find this tweet. There's a tweet over here that kind of explains it. This Eric Voorhees, one of the real deals. If you don't follow Eric Voorhees, you should follow Eric Voorhees on Twitter for sure. Right here, he says, Roger, or he requoted this, Roger, the very earliest day he's legally allowed to move out of the country, moves to Japan on that day, pays Japanese taxes, also pays U.S. taxes, 9 years of paying Japan plus U.S. taxes, but only living in Japan. 2014, formally renounces his U.S. citizenship, pays a huge exit tax. 10 years later, the government now says exit tax too small, arrested in Spain, and now they're trying to extradite him to the U.S. Not exactly government via consent of the governed. This is absolutely crazy. It was interesting, if you go look at crypto Twitter, there's a lot of people saying, let's just say they're not supportive. So if you come over here, this guy, Dan Held, which I mean, I personally don't know this guy. I have zero plans of following him. Obviously, he's investing in Bitcoin and DeFi, and he's an advisor to this project and Taproot Wizards and yada, yada, yada. Got a bunch of followers and all these things. If you look at his Twitter account, is saying that it's year 2024 and the economy is still planned by a bunch of boomers in suits behind closed doors versus Bitcoin with monetary policy that is transparent and unchanging. Which one do you think the future of money is? Looks very pro Bitcoin, very pro crypto. And then you come down here and he posts this: breaking, Roger Ver charged with mail fraud, tax evasion, and filing false tax returns. Wanted for extradition to the United States. By the way, there's something here that nobody's talking about, and I'm going to share that with you in a moment. Like, there's a detail here that's getting missed, and I think it's going to be part of Roger Ver's defense, and I'll share that with you in a moment. But he posts his headline, wanted for extradition to the United States, and then he comes down here and says, good, he's been a net negative for Bitcoin. Look, there is some truth to this regarding later years, especially when he got on the Bitcoin Cash train. But that's irrelevant. Roger Ver is pro-crypto. And it's mind-blowing. If you come down here to the comments, it's just mind-blowing how many people are like, yeah, Roger Ver is bad. Roger Ver should go to jail. Roger Ver broke all these laws. And again, maybe, kind of, sort of, it doesn't make the laws right. It doesn't make the laws fair. Let's be clear. A lot of Americans don't understand this. I'm going to point this out to you. Right here, 9 years of paying Japan plus USA taxes. America is one of the only, if not the only country in the world that does not allow its citizens to escape its taxes, its tax laws. Meaning, if you're a Japanese citizen and you go to South America and you make money in South America, Japan doesn't care. You don't live there anymore. All they care about is that you don't, if you live there and you're making money off their economy, then you owe taxes. But if you're a Japanese citizen and you move to South America and you make money some country in South America, that country probably wants you to pay taxes. Japan doesn't care. It doesn't work that way in the States. If you're an American citizen and you leave, unless you renounce your U.S. citizenship, you still have to file a tax return and in some cases still owe money to the U.S. government. particularly if you have customers and or business of any kind in the US. It's kind of wild. And citizens outside the US don't follow under some of the same tax laws. It's really wild. I had a buddy of mine he's from a European country and he's looking to open a business here in the US, and I couldn't believe some of the differences in the tax arrangements. I mean, some of it just didn't seem quite fair. But in the U.S. government requires you to continue to file this tax return. Then you have to pay this exit tax to leave, to expatriate, the whole 9 yards. Roger Ver did that. What they're getting him on is they're claiming that he did not properly, on his tax forms, state how much Bitcoin he had at the time, and him and his companies were holding about $800 in Bitcoin. Now, we're talking about a time period of like way back in 2014. 2014. When he formally renounced. 9 years before that, he was paying U.S. and Japanese taxes. 9 years before that. So it's crazy because the nuance that nobody's talking about is most people in crypto were not paying their taxes in 2014 on crypto. Not because they were trying to necessarily avoid the laws. It wasn't clear how to pay your taxes. It wasn't clear what to pay your taxes on and how do they want to determine it. Even now, if you're in DeFi and you have dividend tokens or some of these LPs that we're in, some of these leveraged LPs, it's not even very clear now how to pay your taxes on some of those projects. Some of the casino tokens that are out there paying dividends, it is not clear on how to pay your taxes on some of these protocols. There's just not a law that properly describes it or explains it. Now, of course, I tell people, pay your taxes. Do the best you can. Pay your taxes. In fact, overpay. Not because I'm a fan of government, not because I'm a fan of taxes, because I don't want good people to get in trouble. Now, obviously, for whatever reason, Roger Ver, decided not to. Now, I don't know if he was truly trying to avoid paying taxes. The reason I doubt that he was truly trying to avoid paying taxes is because he had the ability to pay them. I mean, it was essentially money in the bank, so to speak. If he could have liquidated a portion of his Bitcoin, he could have easily paid those taxes. And I'm willing to bet he may have liquidated some Bitcoin to pay some taxes. I'm not sure. In fact, now that I say that, I think he actually claimed one time up until a few years ago, maybe he had never sold one Bitcoin he had ever owned. So maybe I'm not accurate on that. But either way, the point is, I don't necessarily know that the guy was out to evade U.S. taxes. If he was, some people say, good for him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this isn't clear. Listen, the IRS calls crypto one thing when it's in their favor to enforce it. The SEC calls it another thing when it's in their favor to enforce it. The Commodities Future Trade Commission calls it one thing. All of these government 3-letter, 4-letter organizations classify crypto differently when it's in their best interest to enforce it. Clearly, it's not clear exactly how this stuff's being taxed and when, even today, much less in 2014. So I think this is absolutely, completely insane. I thought this is an interesting tweet. Ask your kids, are criminals bad? The correct answer is, it depends on the jurisdiction and the crime. For much of human history, the greatest people have been considered criminals. Galileo, George Washington, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Gandhi among them. Many laws are not just, and moral people oppose them. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so I want to look at how crypto Twitter is responding. We got Wendy O over here. She says, serious question. What did Roger Ver do to you personally to side with the IRS and public servants, whom have arrested him for allegedly not paying his taxes on Bitcoin after he announced his citizenship? I think Wendy O is very similar to me in the fact that she does encourage people to pay their taxes, not because she agrees with it, because it's the right thing to do. It's not worth the penalty of not paying your taxes. Listen, I'm no advocate for go pay your taxes. I say legally pay the minimum amount that you can, but make certain it's legal and do the very best you can when it comes to your taxes. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's interesting to see how many people out there are demonizing Roger Ver. If you come back over here and you go down these tweets here, I love this. This is Eric Voorhees. I'm telling you, Eric Voorhees is the real deal. Eric Voorhees' company was attacked by the government, and he just turned into total decentralization and moved along. I hadn't publicly mentioned this until now. Roger Ver attacked my livelihood by trying to get me fired, called up others to hurt my relationships, and attacked my reputation. He misaligned expectations around Bitcoin so much that it led to I then lost where it went. This guy, I don't even know where I went there. Oh, he misaligned reputations around Bitcoin so much that it led to a civil war. He deserves everything that he's about to get. I paid my taxes accurately. So what? This guy, I love this guy right here. I don't even know who he is. He says it best. Dan, brother, as much as I fought Roger for years during the block size wars, we should not be cheering for government attacking citizens. They may come for you. They may come for you next. Bitcoin and crypto laws are still unclear. Yes, yes, and amen. I mean, this is crazy. Can I cheer on the downfall of an arrogant clown that has caused millions of people to be confused about Bitcoin? Roger has had every chance to give up on his ridiculous hard fork, but instead he's doubled down again and again. He thought he was bigger than Bitcoin. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. I could just go through here and read this. I paid my attack accurately. The true cypherpunk spirit. That's interesting. Turn the other cheek. Sorry for your pain, but that doesn't equal jail. To suggest his words incited a civil war is to claim sovereign people are controlled by other people's vocal cords. Oh, amen. This is good. It's so incoherent as it undermines your own speech as being credibly yours. Augmentation Ethics 101. Dude, here's the problem. I think this guy Dan Held basically he's got his feelings hurt. And like so many people, you know, I'm okay if the government unfairly attacks an individual as long as I don't agree with that individual. This is the problem with politics in America. It's about the R team and the D team. And a bad person on the R team, if I'm a Republican, a bad Republican politician has to be better than any Democrat politician. And it's unfortunate because we don't get to have honest debate in this country, and we end up getting divided. And crypto, same thing. Crypto is getting divided. At the end of the day, has Roger Ver been very controversial in crypto? Yes, absolutely. But does this seem fair that all these years later, which, by the way, let me just say this as well before I get off of here. The idea that people say crypto can't be tracked, yada, 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 they clearly are tracking it. Clearly, the U.S. government is absolutely tracking it. In fact, did you see this? Samurai Wallet, if you don't know what Samurai Wallet is, I should do a separate video on this, but Samurai Wallet was a wallet that was built with privacy. In fact, many guys, probably 3 to 5 years ago, big not even influencer, like conference speakers that Andrea Antonopoulos and the likes out there have in the past touted the Samurai Wallet as a very good Bitcoin wallet. One of the reasons it was considered good is because Bitcoin's not private, and the Samurai Wallet would automatically sort of mix your transactions for you whenever you used it. And a lot of people said, hey, this is really good for privacy. This is a really good wallet. This has been around for years, very similar to Tornado Cash. Suddenly, the government has recently, in the past week or so, arrested the CEO or the co-founders of this wallet. This guy's 35 years old, and now he's on house arrest in Pennsylvania out on a $1 million bond because he created a software wallet. They're claiming that he was laundering money, or they were laundering money. This is absolute garbage. Samurai Wallet co-founder Rodriguez pleaded not guilty to 2 criminal charges tied to creating and marketing the privacy-focused Bitcoin wallet application and mixing service in a Manhattan courtroom on Monday. Rodriguez and his Samurai Wallet co-founder William Hill, 65, were arrested last week. Rodriguez in Pennsylvania and Hill in Portugal, and charged with 1 count each of conspiracy to commit money laundering and conspiracy to operate unlicensed money transmitting service. This is where they're trying to get everybody. Suddenly, when it's in the government's best interest, Bitcoin's money. When it's not in their best interest, Bitcoin's an asset. It's not money any longer. This is ridiculous. The charges carry a maximum sentence of 20 years and 5 years, respectively. Prosecutors have alleged that between 2015, the seizure of Samurai Wallet servers last week, the app facilitated more than 100 million in money laundering transactions from illegal dark web markets, around 2 billion total in unlawful transactions. Oh my goodness. The arrest and shutdown of the Samurai Wallet comes as the U.S. government prepares for its case against Tornado Cash developer Roman Storm, and have led to an outcry among many in the crypto industry who believe the case is a sign the government is attempting to criminalize financial privacy. Listen, I tend to agree with that as well, but let's see what evidence the government actually does in fact have. Let's see what they have. What's going on with Roger Ver? Listen, if they find out this guy, I'll be the first to say, if they find out that he was intentionally, on purpose, trying to take money away from Uncle Sam, then maybe, at least according to the law of the land, he's going to be in trouble. But I am not 100% certain. There were so many people back in the 2014, 2015 era not paying taxes because it was just simply too complicated to understand exactly what to pay and how to pay it. That's my take. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Hey, stay tuned. I got a video coming up. I'm going to be showing you what's been happening with my passive income investments for the month of April. You don't want to miss it. Be on the lookout for that video very, very soon. I'll put it on the end screen. Decentralized crypto equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.